Hey everyone, welcome to Manga Monday here on the dannphan channel. Today we're discussing ONE's new manga, or at least newish manga, Versus. This is a manga that I wanted to cover for a while now, but I held off until there were enough chapters for me to read and generally get a gist of what to expect from the series. Of course, in ONE's past works, we kind of know him as being this god of subversion. And subversion is definitely not absent in this particular series. In fact, I think it's the main forefront. Now, over the years, we've been introduced to all kinds of different multiverse type of stories to the point where a lot of people are really burnt out on it. ONE makes it work because he continues his tradition of adding in the unexpected twist. And the twists actually add interest and intrigue to what would normally be an overly used concept. But starting off the manga Versus, we actually get introduced to a very dark first chapter. It's not berserk dark, but it's genuinely quite depressing, where we see this medieval, fantasy world classic, right? And we get introduced to the hero Hollow, who is basically humanity's last defense against the demons. Most of his other friends have already failed in fighting the demon lord and their opponents respectfully, and now it's all up to Hollow. So this is like, traditionally the scene where he gets powered up by friendship and he wins. But that's not what happens. He is just completely and utterly outmatched. And it is genuinely quite dark and depressing, and it really makes you as the reader feel as though the situation is hopeless and they're just not going to be able to actually defeat the demons. So his magician friend moves on to plan B, and plan B is, if there's nothing in this world that can defeat the demons, then we should look for something within another world. And so sure enough, he casts magic stuff and they actually open a portal into another world, which actually collides both of their worlds together. And out from the other world comes this very sci-fi looking crowd of people with guns, and they just start blasting away at the demons. And they reveal to our main characters, oh well, actually, we were also seeking help from another world at the same time you were. You have an issue with demons, we have an issue with these robots over here. AI has taken over. Didn't see that one coming. So they essentially switch partners and start fighting each other's enemies. Now that alone is pretty cool, and it definitely makes you feel a lot more hopeful after getting introduced to such a depressing first chapter. But that's not where the series is actually going. So even though their different technology is able to combat each of their respective enemies, they are still not strong enough on their own to completely kill each other's enemies. They can do more damage, but not completely wipe them out. They have a better chance of eliminating their enemies if they have their enemies fight each other, kind of make it an evil versus evil deal instead of a good versus evil deal. And that's the main crux of the series. It's not about them directly fighting evil so much as it is about them utilizing traps and strategies to get their enemies to fight each other. Hence the name of the series, Versus. And it's not just these two worlds that have collided in this event, it is multiple worlds. Like I said, with the multiverses, that is what happened here. All of these different worlds that were seeking help from the other side, they all collided at the same time, and now we have all of these different characters with different skill sets, as well as different types of enemies with different skill sets. And you can get a lot of really strange but interesting fights out of having all these different genres of enemies fighting each other. And that in of itself is pretty fun for a concept. And it goes to show that ONE has not exactly lost his touch when it comes to writing subversive material. I was really excited getting deeper and deeper into the series. It is still overall kinda dark, I gotta say, because it's still kind of battling with this theme of hopelessness and being a very small part of a very big, monstrous world. I mean, multiple worlds, technically, just filled with all kinds of monstrous evils that want to defeat you. And all of the worlds that collided, they all have the same common trait, being that they are all examples of where good has failed to defeat evil, which in of itself is quite polar opposite to what we would normally see in a shonen or in a classic type of good versus evil tale, is the good guys losing. And it's not about them using the power of friendship or training to necessarily one-on-one their villains. Instead, it's about them trying to use strategy, trying to use their brains and combined knowledge in order to get the villains to fight each other. Or at least that is the current plan. I don't know if the plan's gonna change later on in the series. We'll see how it goes. But I don't think that you can hear the idea behind this series and think by any means that it's not unique. It's definitely unique. And I think that's what's going to draw a lot of people in. But it does have a flaw. A flaw that I'm discovering more and more the more that I've read, is that I'm losing interest slowly. And I think part of the reason why I'm losing this momentum the more that I read it is because we just keep on getting introduced to new characters back to back. It's like all these different universes collided, we just keep on getting introduced to a new universe, a new person, good person from that universe, and then they also have to introduce their lore and their villains that they're fighting, and it just gets to be a bit much. And when you have to like introduce these people within a relatively small amount of time, I have really a tough time getting invested in any of them. I mean, I was plenty invested with the main characters from the medieval fantasy world. Hollow is a suitable main character where we just constantly are changing our perspective. I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, I get it. Stop introducing new worlds. We have enough already. Just start killing the villains. And of course, some of the evil forces that they're fighting are a little bit more convoluted or not as simple as just, you know, fighting. For example, there's also parasites and viruses, and those are a little bit more tricky to fight rather than just having a kaiju go after it. So it does take away some of the dopamine from like how excited you get when you get to see these villains fight, and then, you know, it's like, oh well, now we gotta like fight against this virus that's poisoning us. It's like, oh, okay. I do really like that one is trying to tell a story about how even the hopeless can come together and find that light at the end of the tunnel. You know, like this idea that we can all work together to solve our problems, even if it's hopeless for just one person to solve. You know, the more people that you have working on it will figure it out. That's generally a very nice message. I think the art is pretty good for the manga. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Dragon Ball Z in certain areas, but you gotta admire just the talent that this artist has to be able to draw in so many different genres. I think that's the real impressive part. And unfortunately, there is a animal sidekick. There's this ugly pig thing that just like flies around with Hollow all the time, and I know that one probably drew this design himself. He's gotta stop. It's hideous. It is actually cursed. I hate it. Get it out. Also, you know, it genuinely, the pig just doesn't add anything to the story. I almost forgot it was even a character when I was making this review. I almost forgot to even bring it up because it adds nothing. So where will I rank Versus? I do think it's good. I feel bad that I'm kind of losing my momentum when it comes to reading it. Generally, with a lot of manga series that I've read, usually the trend is that it gets better and better the more it goes. Like maybe we've exhausted all of the cool stuff already, but maybe I'm just being too quick to judge it. Maybe the next few chapters it's gonna pick up again. Who knows? Compared to One Punch Man and Mob Psycho 100, I would probably rank this below that. I do enjoy Mob Psycho 100 at my top slot. I really like that series. And, you know, One Punch Man is got his own charm to it that I think is not present in Versus. Versus is good. It's a unique idea. It's utilizing a unique concept and it's being very over-the-top creative. However, in my heart, it's just not really up to par with the other two big hitters. And you do gotta wonder, should one be writing this new series instead of finishing up One Punch Man? I don't really know, you know? We'll see if it's worth it in the end, but have you yourself read Versus? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments section below. Like the video if you did enjoy, if you'd like to see more manga reviews, and if you'd like to see some indie comics, stuff that we're coming out with ourselves, go check out burningstarcomics.net. I'm sure you'll be able to find all kinds of fun comics on there. We already have 12 titles, we have merchandise, we have original art. It's a good, solid website to find stuff on. Additionally, if you'd like to see more comics specifically from me and updates on my own personal comics, I have a Subscribe Star, which is also in the description. You can go check that out and subscribe if you'd like to see stuff early. But that's all I got for you today. So I'll see you next time, guys. Bye! Program restart.